One second. I think that's amazing that you just got back from Rwanda.
Yeah,
I was telling people the other day, the world has not stopped. Some people are still operating
so
as if we're in full quarantine, but the world has not stopped. The world is moved. No, some people are.
right.
They really are, and they wanted to go back to full quarantine. That's the thing. Some people wish we were still in quarantine.
Interesting.
So their airports and everything are open. Wow,
Hmm. Yeah.
that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. And so that was for your two um is it the mobile
Right.
bikes?
Yeah,
Okay, so you travel for those
yeah.
businesses.
Right in
Okay.
Safi.
Now
Yeah.
was Rwanda hit hard with COVID?
Um, I won't say no, not really, but they are getting like the cases are starting to increase almost on a daily basis.
I see.
Yeah,
I see.
so they're putting tighten up their environment.
I see. All right. Well, I am excited. Welcome, everybody, those that are tuning in to another episode of Wealth Matters for Financial Dominion. And today we have a return, I won't say visitor, but we have back with us Dipo Adesina, who is the CEO of Agro Angels and other things that he's got going on. I'm going to let him talk about that. But he's what do you call it? Multi entrepreneur. He's got several things he's juggling.
Right.
Um, and we're excited to have him back today. I'm excited for the conversation. Last week, my daughter was on. She's a budding
Oh,
teen investor. And so she talked about her experience with opening up her first Roth, opening up a Roth and starting to save into that and trying to learn this whole thing about investing. And we know that the sooner you start, the better you are. And so
absolutely.
yeah, so we talked about that and we got the team perspective. And she asked her questions from a team perspective. And one of the things she asked was, where do taxes come from? Because she's about to get her first paycheck. She has a part-time job this year. She's about to get her first paycheck. And she's like, man, they take a big chunk. And I'm like, yeah,
Oh
baby,
yeah.
they do. And so we had a great conversation with her, and I encourage anybody with parents to go back and watch that episode or listen to that episode because I think that teenagers and young people will find it very, very useful. And so that was last week, and we continue on with another conversation. And this week, we want to shift our focus just a little bit to entrepreneurship. And we want to talk about entrepreneurship during a pandemic and some of the opportunities out there. I believe that the number one vehicle to wealth creation, apart from saving and investing, is entrepreneurship. There are only five billionaires in the United States, five billionaires of color, only five
Mm,
of color. And that's African American or African. Okay,
right.
total, only five. And four of those five became billionaires through the vehicle of entrepreneurship. And so I think that it's important that we consistently talk about entrepreneurship on the podcast because we want to build wealth to be able to give generously, show the compassion of Christ, and be in a position to finance the kingdom. And to do that, we have to educate ourselves. And you wrote a book called that had to do with side hustle. And I think you had like over 50 ways that people could start a side hustle or something like you list many ways, many things that people can do to start a side hustle. And so I want us to delve into that this afternoon. And I just feel like entrepreneurship is so important. I feel like everybody should be an entrepreneur, but I mean, hey, that's just me. Everybody doesn't agree with that. But I personally
Of
feel like
course.
everybody needs at least a side hustle. Everybody needs
Of
multiple
course.
sources of income. And so I want us to talk a little bit about that, but I want to hear from you. You got all these things you're doing. You got a staffing company, you got Agro Angels, you got something else you're doing in Africa. You were working with someone that was sewing face masks. You're doing a lot of stuff. And so I want to hear from you why entrepreneurship? I mean, what was your why? What was your impetus? Like, how did you know you were an entrepreneur? How did that all start for you?
Awesome. When you look at the word entrepreneur, an entrepreneur is basically someone who's able to identify a problem
Hmm.
and then offer a solution to that problem. So, like you rightly said, almost anybody can become an entrepreneur. And for me, I think right since I was about 12 years old, I've always found different ways to meet different people's needs. Right. So, for example, when I was in middle school, I would purchase candy from the market, take it to school, and then sell it for 50 cents more, right? So that was always an ideology that I had, that in order to make more money, you have to be able to find what other people call problems, and then you offer the solution to it. So essentially, up until I'm 34 years old now, and all I simply do is identify problems and offer solutions. And like you rightly said, it doesn't matter whether or not you think you're a business person. If you can find solution to what other people call a problem, then you
Hmm.
are an entrepreneur. And that's what I've been fortunate to do for almost, 2 decades now.
I think that's awesome. So who told you to sell it for 50 cents more?
It just makes sense to double your price. It just makes sense. I bought it for 50 cents, you sell it for $1.
So you always been on your hustle. You always been
Oh,
on your grind.
absolutely. Absolutely.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's absolutely wonderful. And I think that where sometimes, especially in our communities, where we go wrong sometimes is we have the solution, but then we don't know how to package everything else around it. Right? Like other
Yeah,
people have perfected that, the putting that wrapper around it, putting that packaging around it. And presentation is important, right?
absolutely.
I can't stress that enough because you might have the raw solution, but you want to refine it, right? You want to refine it.
Yes.
You want to put it in, and that's what a lot of people spend most of their dollars when it comes to products. They spend
Mm,
most of their dollars on the packaging and the
exactly.
positioning and all of that. So I think your story is, it makes me chuckle because I could see it. I could see it in you since 12. So now I want to hear about
Awesome.
COVID and
Thank
all of
you.
those different things you've been doing. Is this a good time to start a business? I mean, a lot of people say, well, I got to have a lot of money. I don't have, capital investment. I don't have investors. I don't have backers. Does it take all of that, in your opinion, to really start something that can generate some income for you, some revenue for you?
Absolutely not. And it goes back to, one of the things that one of my mentors told me right when COVID was at its peak was that during this time period, a lot of people will be ruined forever just because of COVID-19. And at the
Hmm.
same time, a lot of people's life is going to be transformed for the better because of COVID-19. And the only difference between the two groups is your perception of how you view the situation we're in right now. So if you're looking to start a business, this is probably the best time for you to start a business because we're not moving into a new economy, quote unquote, where it requires innovation to offer new products and services. It
Hmm.
requires new skill set. I think in America right now, I think roughly 40 something million people have lost their jobs. Now,
Yeah.
one of the things I saw on the news a few days ago was that most of these people are now starting to learn new skills so that they can become more valuable in the marketplace. So essentially, from an entrepreneurship standpoint, the question you have to ask yourself is, what are some of the current problems now that are in the market that I can solve? Or what new skill set are required in the marketplace now that I can offer based on my experience? You mentioned earlier how, my partner and I started selling masks. When we started selling masks, nobody was selling masks, right? But the key to that was there was a problem in the market. Everybody needed masks and nobody had the supply. So it was all about using a skill set, which is being a tailor, to use that skills to create something to meet the market's demand, right? So for somebody who's watching this right now, thinking to themselves, well, I don't know what to do. A good example is, what are some of the skills you have now that you can offer to the market for a premium, right? Now, for me, for example, I just started, I'm coaching a young lady right now in online marketing, and she's paying me, Pastor Lanita, to do something I would have done for free because it's my skill set, right? Now, if I didn't understand business, I could be just sitting on my laurels and like, well, I'm good. But understanding that there's somebody out there that needs to learn what I know, I was able to package that in exchange for money. So
there you go.
Anybody, when I say anybody, everybody has something to offer to the market. You just have to be able to, number one, think, and number two, believe in your ability to produce something that people will pay for.
I absolutely agree with you. I believe everybody doesn't believe this, but I believe everybody should be an entrepreneur. I mean, even at a basic level, even if it's, you're an excellent baker, you bake great cakes, sell those jokers, sell them.
Yep.
You sell your mask, sell some clothing. I believe everybody has a capacity and a potential to do something. If it's not a full-fledged, what we call business, quote unquote business, they have the capacity to have a side hustle. I believe everybody should have more than one source of income or more than one thing that they can pull from in terms of financial resources. I believe everybody's called to do that. And some people say, well, everybody's not called to be an entrepreneur. Yeah, but okay, but we all can have a side hustle. If you don't want to call it a full-blown business, everybody can have a side hustle. And I believe everybody should have a side hustle. Definitely. And one of the things you said is simply looking at a problem, find a solution. A lot of times we tend to look down on what we have. We tend to think that what we have is not, oh well, I can cook. Okay, we don't think it's anything grandiose. But the money is not always in things that are glamorous or what we think of as corporate America or high tech. Sometimes the money is in a sanitation business or a cleaning business.
Yes.
Right now, people want things sanitized. Everybody wants things sanitized right now. Everybody wants things cleaned. I mean, sometimes your millions are in the minute. I truly believe that. I believe that your millions sometimes are in the minute in what people don't seem to think as grandiose. I mean, look at famous Amos. He could make cookies.
Right.
So he made cookies and became a millionaire out of making cookies. So I mean, I truly believe that. I believe that everybody should have a side hustle. So so what could somebody do right now in COVID? You gave some examples about, just finding a solution. Let me ask you this. What has changed? Has anything changed in your businesses since COVID? Have you had to adjust? What adjustments have you had to make?
Absolutely. I mean, for literally all our businesses. So I'll give you a prime example. So we also have we run a bakery business, which my wife does. And her business has probably multiplied maybe 3 to 5 times because of COVID. Now, here's why. Now, if you think about a typical bakery, right, most people will usually go into a shop, place an order to get, to receive their order. Well, when COVID-19 happened, people still wanted to celebrate. People still wanted to have cakes and for their birthday and things of that nature, and they couldn't go into a physical store. Guess what people started doing? They started making orders online. And of course, when they went online, one of the top, bakery business that they found that was still open was my wife's bakery, right? Okay. So one of the things that has changed for us is being able to leverage online marketing, right? Attractive marketing to be able to pull more people into our business. Because in this new economy that we're in, people are no longer looking to go into a store to, to purchase things. People now want to be able to sit at home, purchase something from their phone and have it delivered to them. Whether you're talking about clothing, groceries, or whatever it is you want to whatever it is you want to. Okay. So sorry about that. So people want to be able to to stay at home, make their purchases, and have it delivered to them. And that's why most businesses, those who are online now, are able to see more growth in their business because of online. And those who weren't online prior to COVID are finding it a little bit more challenging because of the inability to leverage online marketing.
Yeah, I think that that's a huge, 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 huge point. I mean, I've seen it both in my business, and my business is fully online, and also, and just an example from church,
Awesome.
because I operate in both worlds. If you weren't operating online as a church, if you never streamed your service as a church, you didn't have anything set up to stream your service online before COVID, either you figured it out real quick, or you are
You
not
out of
persisting
business.
right now.
Right.
It's either those two things. I mean, there's no way, there's no way around it. And I think if
Absolutely.
COVID has taught us anything, one of the lessons COVID has taught us is that we live in a digital era, and the world is global because of digital technology. And if we're not embracing
Absolutely.
that, if we're not keeping up with it, if we're not learning, we're going to be left behind. There are many things I had to learn how to do during COVID, just for
Mm,
myself and for my business, to keep up with the technology. Things that I wasn't using like automation, Zapier, and all the things that can help to automate a business. Those are things that, if we're going to persist in the digital era, we have to learn how to use those things. We can't
absolutely.
continue to do everything manually. We're just
You
not going to
can't.
be able to keep up. And the digital marketing space, you said someone was paying you to coach in that space. What are some key things that we need to remember about digital marketing?
What number one is that you need to have a personal brand, right? You can't just come online now and all of a sudden want to have people attracted, people, patronizing your business. And one of the things that I tell people first and foremost, as much as you want to hurry up and get your business online, you need to be first known online before people can patronize your business,
Okay.
right? And that's where personal branding comes into play. So one of the things I tell my students is, if you go on my Facebook page, for example, and you scroll down from now till the beginning of the year, what is the consistent theme that you see on my Facebook
Definitely see
page?
business.
And it never fails: business, investment, self-development. So that is a personal brand. So when I start talking about business or trying to market something, it's not strange to my audience. So like you rightly said, Pastor Lanita, if you've never if you've never streamed anything online, you've never done anything online, and all of a sudden, one day you come online trying to sell Pampers, nobody's going to patronize your business because nobody's ever known you to sell Pampers,
Awesome. Awesome.
right? So
Hmm.
when it comes to digital marketing, personal branding is probably one of the biggest things, right? To develop a personal brand, and then at the same time, find how do you attract, and this is another terminology called attractive marketing. All right, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So when you have the personal branding and you have attractive marketing, how do you attract the right type of people to your business? Right? Of course, that's another topic for another day, but there's so much into digital marketing, online marketing, in order to properly set up your church, to set up your business, or whatever it is you're trying to do to attract the right audience.
Absolutely. I mean, you just hit the nail on the head. And it's a whole world. That's what people don't realize. It starts with the brand called you. That's very, very important. Then you have to make sure what you're doing is attractive. I've also just been blown away by the amount of information there is that has to do with social media marketing, understanding how to create ads on Facebook, not just a simple ad, but I mean the pixels and everything
Mm-hmm.
behind it, and how you can customize it, and all of that. It's a whole nother world, but it's a world that, if we're
Right.
going to be successful, even with our side hustle, we need to at least be familiar with it. Even if we're going to pay somebody
Absolutely.
to do it for us, the world of digital marketing, social media marketing, what's behind the hood of all these social media platforms, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, what's behind the hood of that, we need to have some familiarity with. And I'm learning more and more than ever now that there's a whole lot that I did not know. You don't know what you don't know until you
Mm,
start digging. And so,
exactly.
yeah, it's like it's a whole world that you just never discovered. And when you start digging into it, you say, oh, that's why that ad keeps popping up on my
Mm,
Facebook page,
right.
Yeah, because there's an algorithm, there's logic to it, there's targeting to it. And so
Yeah.
I think that it's essential in a COVID era. It's definitely essential, like you said. So again, I'm gonna go back to the side hustle because you wrote a whole book about side hustle. So let me
Sure.
ask you, what in your mind are the advantages of starting a venture as a side hustle before it becomes something that is full time?
Yeah, I think number one is your ability to create extra income. Um, that's probably the biggest reason why you want to start a side hustle, or I call it a side gig.
Hmm.
Because when you look at most people, they're conditioned to only one stream of income, and that is their job. And it
Hmm.
doesn't matter if you're getting paid $100,000, $150,000, right? You still have one stream of income. And I always tell people that just because you have two jobs or three jobs does not mean you have multiple streams of income. It's still one stream because you still trade your time for dollars. Now, the reason why
Oh,
you want to
that's
have
key. Wait. That is key. What you just said is key. Back up. No, because no, seriously, most people don't think that way. You
Mm,
said, let me see if I got it right. Even if you have two or three jobs, it's still one stream because you're still trading your time for dollars. Is that what you said?
absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Yes.
That's powerful. Okay, so tell us how we can get out of that.
So the key is, when you talk about multiple, and one of the things that COVID has taught us, which a lot of people unfortunately learned a little bit too late, is that if you don't have a second or third stream of income, if something happens to your main stream of income, it can totally be devastating, right? Right? So while you still have a job, if you're fortunate to be working right now, that's great. If you're not, it's still good. You still have multiple opportunities. You want to start, like we talked about earlier, you want to find out what is it that you can offer to the market for a value, right?
Hmm.
It could be as simple as braiding someone's hair.
Hmm.
It could be as simple as even driving Uber. Or
Hmm.
it could be as simple as you having multiple cars and you list one of your vehicles on Turo or Get Around so that other people can rent it.
Wow.
As long as that opportunity is bringing extra income, that means you're leveraging your skill set or your assets to make you more money. I know a lot of people that have big houses, right? Big homes or multiple homes, and still they don't see the importance of listing a room on Airbnb to make an average of $500 to $1,000 extra every month, right? So there's so many avenues, so many opportunities that you can't afford to be broke in 2020, right? But you
Mm.
just have to open your mind and start thinking, what can I do? Like for me, for example, I'm a communicator, right? I know how to speak, I know how to write. So
Hmm.
I leverage these things to create video content, to write books, to coach, to mentor. These are natural skills that I've been able to package in exchange for money. And that's what people need to learn. And let me say this, it might not happen automatically. It might not happen next month because you're not used to that. So you might need to unlearn, to relearn some new skills or techniques or strategies to be able to put yourself out there to create extra stream of income.
Oh, excellent, excellent, excellent. Absolutely excellent. So one of the benefits, of course, is income. But I love one of the things you said, the example you used about, people who have two and three houses, but still don't rent any of them out, to just get a little bit of extra income. You can't live in more than one house at a time. So, so you might as well leverage one of them. I mean, you can't stay in two houses at one
That's
time.
it.
So you might as well leverage one of them and get some rental income from it. And I think that that's a wonderful, wonderful example of how we need to think differently.
Mm,
We don't think in ways that generate income. And I think that if we ask, one, we have to train ourselves to do it, but we can also ask God to open our eyes
yes.
to what is in our hand. You know, I'll go back to the story of the prophet and the widow. He asked her, "What's in your house?" She said, "They're coming to
Right.
get my child." The prophet, her husband passed away. He was a prophet, but he was a prophet in debt, and they were going to come get her child as payment for his debts. And she went to the prophet and said, "Look, they're about to come take my child." He asked her, "What's in your house?"
Yep.
And so it's the same principle when you're talking about a side hustle. What's in your hand? What's in
That's
your
it.
house? What can you do? What do you have access to do? What do you have the skill or ability to do that you can turn into somebody's solution? It could be as simple as, "I'm good with children." Well, plenty of people need help with their kids.
Absolutely.
Plenty of people need help with their kids. Why are you
Absolutely.
overlooking that as if it's not a viable business? All of these things, I'm really passionate about it because I think people really overlook sometimes what they have. And we don't think, like you said, we have to think differently. you
Hmm.
know and some people say, "Well, I don't want to rent out my house to nobody. It's COVID. I don't want nobody staying in my house." Sanitize the joker, sanitize it before and after, and get your money.
Exactly.
Just sanitize it before and after
Exactly.
and get your money.
That's
So
it.
these are all things that I think are great examples of how we need to think differently. And for some people, they may not have two or three houses, but they may have a basement they can rent out.
Hmm.
you know, 9 times out of 10, you only using the first two levels of the house anyway. You're not using that
Absolutely.
basement. You're really not using that basement. So rent it out. Let it pay off a bill for you, even if you just rent it for 12 months. By
That's
12
it.
months, I'm sure that's a bill that would have been paid off, right? So these are just
Yes.
examples, I think, of excellent examples of how we need to think differently. I also think, just going back to one thing you said, um, if we start with the side hustle before you go full time, you have the time to make adjustments, right? You have the time
Hmm.
to test and learn, and I think that that's something that we have to do as business people, as business minded people. We have to test, we have to learn, we have to adjust. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, people didn't like the zebra print face mask. We don't need to do those no more. Let's do solid blue.
Exactly.
You know, yeah. And I think sometimes when that happens, when people see that, oh, people don't like the zebra print, people give up. What you giving up for?
Yeah.
Give them a leopard print if they don't like the zebra print. I
Yep.
mean,
Until you
test
find
it.
something that works.
Exactly. Have you had to do that?
Oh,
Um, can you give
definitely.
us some examples
I'll
of
give
when
you a
you had
prime
to do
example.
that?
With our project, yes, in our project in Rwanda, right, with our smart bikes. I remember when we first got into the country, we had a test pilot, bikes, and we were under the assumption that our bikes were good to go, right? Because we thought that all we needed to do was bring in bikes and start operation. Unfortunately, the bikes that we brought in, both for our electric motorcycles and our smart bikes, they didn't have enough power to climb up the hill because Rwanda is a very hilly country. Now we've
Okay.
already pumped a lot of money into this, into these bikes. I remember when one of the the leaders in the government actually rode one of our bikes, and he literally said, "Oh, is this bike for kids?" Now we were under
Mm,
the impression that this bike was good to go for anybody, but in his mind, the bike was too small and was not even feasible for an adult. Of
okay.
course, we didn't let him know that this was what we thought was our final product. But when we got that feedback, we have to go and literally redesign another bike to fit the people of Rwanda. You see what I'm saying? So if you
Mm-hmm.
would have came with the ideology that, well, this is our bike, it's going to work, we're going to make it work, we would have been total failures. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you release a product into the market, it might not be what people want. So you might have to go back and spend new money to get the right product, but you will always recoup your investment if you give the market what they want. So I've seen it countless times, even with the mask. We've seen different variations. Some people didn't want this, so we stopped doing that. We started making new designs. I mean, it's across the board.
It's so important, that ability to adjust, that ability to test and adjust. And so what has been the outcome now that you guys went back and changed the electric bikes?
Oh, this is going viral. People can't wait till we officially launch, because right now we have officially launched, but the bikes that we have right now, perfectly adjustable. I mean, it's amazing. The transformation from when we first went into Rwanda compared to where we are now, it's like day and night, literally.
And you just got back from Rwanda.
I just got back a few days ago.
That Dipo is traveling. He is not letting this thing slow him down at all.
Not
and
at
I
all,
love
not
it.
at all.
I love it. I love it. So what's the atmosphere like now in terms of Rwanda and business and all of that?
Where? In Rwanda?
Yeah.
Oh, people still, every time there's a flight coming into Rwanda, it's probably 40 to 50% foreigners. People are still traveling, right? Starting new businesses. I saw a gentleman on LinkedIn who started his own, what do you call it? His own brand wear, right? Sort of like, quote unquote, Under Armour, something along that line, in Rwanda, an African American, right? So people are still traveling, starting businesses. Only someone who's not business minded would see COVID as the worst thing that has happened in 2020, right? To some people, COVID is the best thing that happened in 2020 because it changed their business forever, or gave them new opportunities they would have never had before.
Oh man, I just love that. You said only someone that's not business minded would see COVID as the worst thing that's happened this year. But so many people see COVID as the worst thing that's happened. But I did an episode a few weeks ago, and there's a quote from Sun Tzu, The Art of War. In chaos, in the midst of chaos, there's opportunity.
That's deep.
That's from The Art of War. There's always opportunity when there is something that is disrupting people's lives. Right in that is an opportunity if we just have the eyes to see it. And so I just love what you just said. I love what you just said. And I love that we need to see that people are investing in Africa. We don't always see that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, one of the habits we talked about the last time you were on the show was, the habits of successful people. And one of them is investing. And you can invest in the market, or you can invest in somebody else's project and what they're doing.
That's correct.
Yeah. And so I think that, you're opening people's eyes to the fact that Africa is a viable investment.
Absolutely.
Which a lot of people don't see it or perceive Africa to be that. But Africa has always been full of natural resources. And now people are coming and honing those resources and turning them into finished products. And there's money to be made in Africa.
Of course.
Yeah. It's just that people don't know it. People don't always realize that. People on this side of the pond, I like to say, people on this side of the ocean don't always realize that. But I love what you are doing.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Anything else you want to say about entrepreneurship and its importance to wealth creation, or your take on it? Anything else you want to share before we get into the lightning round?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is people need to stop seeing the word entrepreneurship as a big word, right?
Okay.
And because I think it scares a lot of people from thinking that it can actually become an entrepreneur. When you understand that the term entrepreneur is someone who identifies problems and offers solutions, that would now put you in a place to become a problem seeker, right? You're not looking at the terminology, you're looking at the definition of it. Because right now, so many people are in a position to solve problems, but they're looking at themselves, well, I'm not a business person. Think about most people that started businesses that are in the billions today, they didn't start off as a business person. Mark Zuckerberg didn't start off as a businessman. He said it himself, right? I mean, look back and look at most people who have created wealth. They just saw a problem, created a solution, and in the process became multimillionaires.
That's so
So
true.
yeah, you might not have business background, you might not have a college degree, but if you can solve problems, you can make money. All right. And you can become an entrepreneur. So we'll leave it at that.
Amen. I just so agree with that. Yeah, they were not business people. Uh, they were techies solving a problem.
Exactly.
And it turned into money for them. But the principle applies, whether it's tech, whether it's cooking, whether it's cleaning, whether it's sewing,
Yeah.
what the principle still applies. Solve a problem,
It doesn't matter what it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Or whether it's selling candy for 50 cents more than what you bought it for.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do.
I'm telling you, I ain't bad at you. I am not bad at you. I am not bad at you. Okay, so talk to us about how you feed your mind. Apart from your own books, what are some books that you think are essential for entrepreneurs, or a book that you think is essential for entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs to read?
Yeah, I won't necessarily pin it down to a book, because as a person who's constantly developing themselves, there are multiple books you have to read to balance yourself out, right? So from a business standpoint, there are dozens of books, but for me, what I always drop back to, I always like to refer back to classics, because classic books gives you the foundation, right? I mean, I'm looking at some of my bookshelves right now. I have plethora of books on business, but to give you that right foundation, especially if you're an aspiring entrepreneur, two books right off the back: Think and Grow Rich and Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? Now, those books are very old, but the principles don't change. See what I'm saying? Principles, I mean, some of the things, even from biblical standpoint, some of the things we apply from the Bible was written 6,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, but we're still applying the principles today.
Yeah.
Right. So for anyone who's looking to go into business, I can tell you some people to follow on social media, right? That will kind of give you that mindset. You're looking at Gary V. Gary V, he curses a lot, right? So let me put that out there. But if you're able to tune out his curse, he has a lot of wisdom when it comes to business. Grant Cardone, another business mogul online, right? These are people that will not only show you how to, build a business, but how to use online space to build your business. Those two people definitely comes off the top of my dome when it comes to people to follow online.
Okay. That takes me okay, great. That leads me into the next question. Who is the number one person that's inspiring you in your industry?
Number one person. Wow.
I mean, who do you look at and say, I won't be like that? I'll go.
When it comes to business?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't have one person. It's tough. Like, I don't have one person. Somebody that I do admire, their ability to use the digital space to build a strong brand, is Grant Cardone. Okay. Like he's just a branding mogul. Like he can sell you to yourself. I mean, that's just how good he is, right?
Now let's make sure
so
we get
yeah,
his
that would
name
be
right.
somebody.
How do you spell his? Is it Brian Cardone?
No, Grant.
Let me last pull name?
Cardone. Let me make sure I'm getting it right as well. Hold on one second.
Okay.
So Grant, like Grant. And then Cardone, Cardon.
Got it. Grant. Okay, got it. All right. Okay, I'll check him out, see what he's talking about. All right.
Definitely.
All right. Next lightning round question. What if you could share with us, not all of them, but maybe what one of your goals, one of your business goals, for between now and the end of the year?
Um, it will probably have to be with our project in Rwanda
Okay.
because we have so much traction out there. And one of our goal is to really have our products saturating the streets of Rwanda. So far, we've been self-funded, raising funds from friends and family, using our own capital. So in order for us to move to that next level, we need to have at least 500 either electric bikes, electric motorcycles, and our smart bikes on the street. So definitely my biggest goal right now, as far as me and my team, is to expand our fleet in, our fleet of transportation in Rwanda.
I see. How much is one bike?
So we have about 5 different companies in Rwanda. For our electric motorcycles, is about $2,100. And then we have a logistic company which deals with electric scooters that kind of does delivery, sort of like Uber app. That one is about $1,300. So the prices vary, but of course, we always welcome investors, to partner with us on any one of our projects. So yeah,
Absolutely.
that's it. That's
So
our biggest.
you guys are creating Uber bikes in Rwanda. Is that how we could think about your business?
Yes, but it's electric scooters.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but yes, yeah. I mean, so yeah, in alignment with this food delivery. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a good way for people to try to understand and frame what you're doing.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. All right. I'm so excited. Yeah, just woo, keep on moving. I say every time I see Dipo, he is moving. He is not sitting down. No, he is not sitting down. So, okay, so finally, before we wrap up, tell the listening audience where they can find out more about you and what you're doing.
Okay. Awesome. So I'm always on social media. The biggest platform I'm on is Facebook. So I'm assuming most of you are watching this from Facebook if you are watching it live. So Facebook, Dipo Adesina. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. Not as much as on Twitter, but Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So I'm, shuffling between all those different platforms. And you can also check me on my website, dipoadesina.com, DIPOADESINA.com.
Okay, let me put that in the comments. Okay, great. We got it. All right, so go check him out, everybody, and see what he's doing. He's always on the move, and I love it. Just got back from Rwanda, not letting COVID stop him or stop his travels. And I love, what you said about your wife's bakery and how, even the bakery, the business has, increased during COVID. There are opportunities out there. We just have to
Absolutely
open our eyes and be willing to put in some elbow grease and do the work. And we have the favor of God backing us, so we should not be afraid. We should not be afraid. Even if you sell masks out the trunk of your car, do it.
Do something.
Just do something. Amen. I love it. Do something. Just do something. Dipo, thank you so much for being with us again.
My
It's
pleasure.
been awesome. And again, we encourage everybody to go and check out what he is doing. And his books are on Amazon. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
His books are on Amazon. You've written two or three?
Yes,
I can
three.
Three books. I know one is Habits of Highly Broke People. I love that title. Is it what, 21 Habits of Highly Broke People?
Yes.
Uh-huh. And then what's the other two? Tell us about the other two.
The other one is How Poor People Think. And the last one is Side Gig Money, 101 Ways to Make Money Without Quitting Your 9-to-5 job.
Oh, that's excellent. That's excellent. So anybody looking for inspiration on how to start your side gig, you want to get a copy of that book. It's a good read, and you should check that out. So he's got books on Amazon. Just put his name in the search in Amazon, and all three will come up.
Absolutely.
That's the easiest way to do it. Just put his name in the search on Amazon, and they'll all come up. All right. Thank you so much, Dipo. And thank you all who are listening and watching. God bless you so much. And we'll see you next Wednesday at 1 p.m. for another episode. Have a great afternoon. Thank you.